A few years ago, Philips came with the Fidelio series of headphones, and the X2HR launched a couple years ago and is regarded as one that often outpunches above its price tag, causing quite a stir in the audio community. Heck, even near the end of its life, it was selling really well when it's only selling for about 150 US dollars or so, but was often compared against much higher end Sennheisers. Now let's take a look at the successor, the Fidelio X3, and see just how it differs in terms of appearance and build quality. Keep in mind that this is only an open box review and a look at the quality of the headphone itself, not the sound quality. But do come back later and check out impression of sound against the new SHP 9600. We'll also get our hands on that. Okay, so let's get to the boxes. First of all, this is the old X2HR. Not that old. I mean, although X2 line has been out for a while, this HR version is a decent revision. Packaging is fairly simple. It's just the sleeve. Once you remove it, it's got a color box. There's the cable and adapter. This is what it looks like. So basically you get a pretty long, well-made 3-meter oxygen-free cable. X2 design basically has a single input point, which really makes it easy for Voda boom mics and any attachments that you want to create. It does come with a cable clip and a 1/4-inch adapter should you need it, but nothing to write home about. The packaging is fairly simple. Now X3 on the other hand, it just feels a little bit heftier. Again, we have a sleeve on the outside, but inside it's another color box, so that itself is already more fancy. Now there are stickers with sort of a peeling point. You could just peel off, I think, and got that one off. Let's see how many stickers we have to deal with here. There's another one here. And 3 at the bottom. Let's get our knife out. Okay, and figure this out. I don't know how exactly it should open, but oh, okay. Magnetic clasps over here. Furrows. I think it's already a pretty more substantial box, and we have a velvety carrying case. Let's see if there's any more accessories. Oh, so there is a little accessory box tucked at the top of this box here, and once you get inside, we have so this is a balance cable. You do see that this is a 3.5 millimeter inputs for each of the driver, so it's a Y cable, and then on the input side you have a 2.5 millimeter TRRS balanced cable. All of them are gold plated, and here's a regular cable that's just 3.5 to 3.5, again a Y cable, and this is unbalanced. So most of the inputs you'll need is probably going to be using this cable unless you have a balanced amplifier. And let's see what else we have. Before we get to this, let's talk about, there's a little cable clip, and I think it's same design as the previous generation from X2HR, which is pretty nifty and very useful from my past experience. We'll share more on that later. Again, a 1/4-inch adapter, so nothing special out of the ordinary, but this is a true surprise. It's got an unbalanced cable and a balanced cable. The only thing is that it's a 2.5 millimeters, so maybe you want to buy an adapter, changes to a XLR 4-pin to work with most of the headphone amplifiers out there. Okay, that aside, let's talk about this later, but just open this up. Ooh, that leather is already a lot nicer than what's on the it feels just a lot nicer than what's on the X2HRs. Overall, this feels a bit plasticky, but it feels cool to the touch. So I believe it is a very thin and lightweight metal alloy, and it is very I would say well constructed, even though it's soft and it's lightweight and just feels very not very substantial. It does feel very well built. It's very solid. I mean, I'm squeezing hard right now and it just doesn't seem to give. There's no banding, there's nothing. Steel band is still pretty flexible, and I would say it's a little softer than what's on the X2HR. X2HR, you have two metallic steel bands that runs along the top and the flat piece here. That gives, I think, a little bit more elasticity, or just a little more rigid. While on the X3, it's just a little softer. And the ear foams feels fairly similar. I think the fabric is fairly similar. It's kind of a velour texture, but on the outer ear cup, so you do have a very nice acoustic fabric. And this headphone does pivot this way, so there's a bit of adjustments, free-flowing adjustments. And again, it's all auto adjust with this type of a suspension, and I think this is one of the most comfortable design you could have for headphones. Yeah, it does feel very lightweight. Now, here's the thing. Can these be taken off just like the X2HRs? I'm going to try to tear it without hopefully damaging it. Ah, yes. So you can take them out. Once you've taken them out, you can see that, yeah, the drivers are tilted at what they call a 15-degree angle to align with your ear's geometry. So that should give you a little bit more precision. And I love how the ear pads, they tell you to align the pin, and it's got even the part number on there to tell you where to align it. If you're in need of replacements, you know, you can probably order them somewhere or find third-party ones. So you align the pins and push it back in. So the foam pads are actually almost identical, except for the fact that there's a little bit more lip on the X2HR's foam pads, and it's more of a flatter construction on the X3. But in terms of amount of foam and fabric, I think it's almost identical. I mean, it's almost interchangeable. So here's X2HR's foam pads, and if I line it, the pins do line up. If I line it, you could put the X2s on here. You just get a different look and design, I guess. But that's the good news. So if there's any third-party foam pads that do work with the X2s, you could be sure that it will work with the X3, most likely. And if you've gone through the trouble of customizing these yourself, then for the X2s, then yeah, you could put them on the X3s. Overall, it's much nicer in appearance. I think the speaker fabric out here appears a little bit darker than in some of the PR shots we've seen, but nothing surprising. I think it's a very elegant design. The actual headband that's touching your head is fairly soft. There's foam inside, but you can still, once you squeeze it, you still feel some rigidness in there. So hopefully it's well built, and it should last you quite some time. The leather, and actually this is probably a good time to get into this, why they included this little pamphlet. It's called Muirhead leather. Apparently came from Scotland, and there's tips on how to care for it. You know, avoid chemicals, avoid direct sunlight, this and that, and then tells you thank you for choosing this, and talks about the tannery in Glasgow that's been open since 1840, yada yada yada. It's sustainably sourced, and it's a luxury leather with distinctive grain and matte finish. I think that's the important thing, is nothing about this screams fancy or overly luxurious, but to the touch, to your feel, to the feelings of your hand, and just textile feelings, it's quite premium. It's not heavy, it's lightweight, but it does have a reassuring weight to it. So overall, this is my impression. And an open box, I think it is a much better upgrade in terms of appearance and construction, material wise, compared to the X2HR. So we should see how it sounds. One more thing I want to talk about is having them side by side. Now, this headband on the X2HR is very soft, very cushiony. I would say more so than on the X3, just because X3 has additional leather padding, but it's got a thinner band on the inside. That means a smaller width elastic. So that means there's less elastic to support the weight of your head. Now, this is a little bit thicker. I think the elastic is about the same width, so maybe there's not much difference. But hopefully it should still give you years of usage, and I believe it should have a good durability to it. So that's the first look at it. And come back later, subscribe, and check out our reviews and perhaps a direct comparison versus the X2HR on what it sounds like. And later we might pick up the SHP 9600 and see what that sounds like compared to this $350 set. Hey guys, remember to subscribe and turn on your notification so you can come back and check out more of our open boxes and review videos. Thanks. Oh, smells pretty good. Hey Nelson, you should smell this. I wish my nose was on top of my head so I can wear this and smell at the same time.